Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chit Chat Show. I'm Karen Craig, and this is Carol Washington, and we are missing one of our chit chatters, Layla Robinson. Unfortunately, she was unable to attend due to her work schedule, but God always has a ram in the bush. Taylor Ford has agreed to pinch hit for Layla today, so we're so happy to have her here today.
Happy to be here.
The Chit Chat Show was created for Christian women to have a forum to chat about a variety of topics from a Christian point of view. While our show is airing, we want you to participate in the Chit Chat by commenting on our Facebook page. And today we're going to talk about a number of hot button issues. And before we get started, let me just say up front, you may not agree with what is said, but please keep an open mind and respect our views. Please do not send us hateful comments, letters, emails, etc. Don't unfriend us or stop following us. We're just chit-chatting. Our goal is to always keep our comments biblical. All right, ladies, let's start. Let's go ahead and chit-chat. All right, so we're going to start talking about violence today. And violence in our communities is typically called black-on-black crime. But we do not call crimes committed in white communities by white perpetrators white-on-white crime. Why do you think that is?
We're going to learn for youth today and allow. What do you think?
Honestly, I think it's not called white-on-white crime. One, because it's not as publicized. You don't see a big media story, about, a white man shooting another white man or a white woman. You might see it, but it's not like a hot topic.
Right.
I think because of the black experience right now, because really we're looking for people to respect us.
Right.
So when we're, out here shooting each other,
Mm-hmm.
it's a platform for them to come back and say something to us. So I think black-on-black crime is kind of centered around, just talking about us. Like, look, you're still shooting each other. You're still shooting each other after, you know what I mean? Exactly. We're doing, their job, and we're going after each other. So I think if, white-on-white crime is, and you know how the media is, they play on everything these days. So I think, it's not as a hot topic, but black-on-black crime, I think, it's hot for them. It's easy for them to say, well, look what they're still doing, but Black Lives Matter. It's like a way to mock you, almost. It's kind of how I view it, the black-on-black crime term.
I agree.
Okay.
I think that publicity sells, right? Social media is all over anything that could grab your attention, right? Mm-hmm. We could list the myriad of young black males that have died due to unnecessary shootings, I'll say, right? What is perceived as unnecessary. We weren't in Atlanta, we weren't in Florida, we weren't in Chicago, we weren't, right in Pittsburgh. We could form our own opinions about our own young black males. And the stories that you see highlighted just in this small town are so exploited. I still work with non-black people. I still hear about non-black crime. It's not on the news. It's not on Facebook. It's not on, but I think this generation takes life for granted. Mm-hmm. So they shoot each other, and they think there's a start over button,
Like a video game.
Yes.
Right.
And I had that conversation as a parent with my son.
Mm-hmm.
And you will at some point to make them understand there's not 5 lives. There's one. There's one playbook. There's one God. There's one death. There's one life. Right? So any non-black crime is not talked about. And I'm talking about Hispanic, Asian, white, right? Mm-hmm. You could put terms in black and white. It's not. It's not. And I think it's wrong. But I also think you have an opinion as a person to understand all of the facts. As if you were on a jury, you got to hear it, both sides of the story.
Definitely.
Why did he run? What was in his pocket? And, But I just think it's exploited to the 10th degree because we just allow it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We allow media to tell us what to wear, how to think, how to vote. I jump ahead but we'll keep it local, keep it on topic, and I apologize if I go on.
We're not talking about voting today, not specifically
Right.
voting today. But I think it's more of a racial thing, in my opinion, with the black-on-black versus white-on-white crime. it's crime. And it's just black people just happen to, committed a crime against another black person. So if a white person's doing the same thing, it should be called white on white crime. But they don't like to point that out. Michael Eric Dyson, he has a quote, and I want you guys to tell me if you agree with his quote. It says, white on white crime is a devastation in America like so-called black on black crime. It's not black or white on white crime. It's proximity murder.
Ooh.
Do you agree
Heavy.
or disagree?
Quite.
Oh.
You want to go first?
Okay, because I'm
You
pondering.
can use this one.
I can agree to a certain extent. I think, again, it's brought to our attention for whatever reason. That's what I'd like somebody to quote. Why? Why do we have to know? Right? If there were no TVs, if there weren't access to other cities, would we know what we know? Would we have opinions that we do? So I'd say I would agree with him to a certain degree that it is proximity.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with him a little bit. Like, for me, it's not about black on black crime, white on white crime. This generation, we're kind of a little bit blended. We're a little bit more accepting of certain things. But to me, black lives always matter. I'm first and foremost a black woman. But I think life is life. Whether, you're white, black, Asian. I don't teach my son color. One of my best friends in college and in high school was white. She was Italian. So, how there's the relationships where, the Italians are, closer to us because we're more welcoming. I've always tried to take the view is that crime is crime is crime. A life is a life. So whether it's a black person killing a black person, a white person killing a white person, I don't think it has anything to do with proximity. I think it has to do with the fact that we've all become so numb if it's not us. You know what I mean? Like, you're numb if it's not you. Like,
Until it affects your family.
Until it hits you. You know what I mean? Like what happened with the Jewish community was horrible. But that also happened in at the AME church, where they were at Bible study, and they were worshiping God, and 9 people were shot, and it didn't get half as much.
And they called it yesterday the worst crime.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not to say,
differ.
It's not to
the Holocaust
downplay it,
is.
but yeah, it's just
I don't right.
lynchings. I mean, public lynchings.
Right.
It's not to compare. My struggle's worse than your struggle, but I just feel like you don't really feel it until it hits your backyard. Like, I didn't feel, not to jump ahead, what happened until it hit my backyard. It was always that city, like, that happened over there, or that happened in DC, or that happened in Baltimore. But when it hits your inner circle,
You don't feel it. You don't have to wear the T-shirt.
You don't empathize as hard. It's not. It doesn't hit. You know what I mean? As much as home.
Which
for
is
you.
I think which is unfortunate because most people are that way. Until it's in my backyard. Oh, that's them. It's not me.
Right.
We're
Right.
good. And they don't really look at what's really happening in the community at large,
Right.
and not just in the Pittsburgh area, but us as a race of people. What are we doing? What are we saying? What's going on in our community? And I think we need to get back to that. I think that's my biggest complaint. And I used to be very militant. I'm trying not to be, but every now and then it tries to crawl back up. But I think, in my opinion, integration was one of the worst things that happened to the black community economically. Because when we could not shop in their shops, we could not go to their restaurants, we had to do business with each other. And we were thriving, because, black people like to spend money.
Right.
And we were thriving. We had our doctors, we had our lawyers, we had our, funeral homes. We had everything we needed in our community. But
Banks.
we wanted to integrate, and I think integration has hurt where now we do not support each other the way we should.
Right, we assimilated.
Yeah, and I think that's just my opinion.
No, but I like that. I like the correlation between, and I don't think it was all of our choice, right? There were certain, I think the young lady that went to the first grade school or middle school would probably disagree that it wasn't her choice to be tortured that way.
Oh yeah, no, school was different. I'm talking about
you're right.
economically.
Right. But still to say, like today, and I'm gonna give a shout out to a local. I like doing that, to a local business. I went to the Everyday Cafe down in Homewood, and they had these nostalgic pictures on the wall that bring you back if you are from our generation.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the street the way it looked in Homewood in that day,
Mm-hmm.
right? 70s are a little foggy to me because I'm my 80s, kind of kid. But you walk through it without fear. You went roller skating without fear. You could go to the bank, and there were only black people shopping in this grocery store. And there's this one picture of a white man showing a black man something in a grocery store. And I'm thinking, is he learning from him or is he teaching him? That's the question I had in my head. I'm at a meeting, supposed to be focused on that, and I'm so looking at everything around me.
Mm-hmm.
But that was so I'm purposefully going to purchase my coffee, if I'm in that area to support local businesses. And I know I'm getting off topic, but that's one thing that we got away from each other because we protected ourselves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
By keeping our money in our own community. And again, I will say that you may not agree, but I think the Jewish community does that well.
Oh,
They
yeah.
protect
Very
our-
much so.
Well, I would say most other cultures do
Most.
it very well, but we don't.
Most.
When I was an entrepreneur, I remember, because I had stuff for your home and for yourself. My tagline was like unique cultural accessories for your home and for yourself. And I was in business with my mother and my aunt, and we had a booth at the Home and Garden Show.
Right.
Now this is
Nice.
the big thing down at the convention center.
Mm-hmm.
And I would venture to say, I know I was the only black-owned business out of all of those exhibitors there. And my husband can testify because we weren't dating back then. But there would be black people that would go way on the other side, wouldn't even acknowledge me by looking at me. You don't have to spend money with me. But they just wouldn't even like walk by and say hi or anything, just like, I gotta turn away, and then I had white people saying, oh, you're the African display.
Wow.
I didn't care, because I had African, like statues and wall hangings. But still, they didn't have a problem coming over. But most of the black people that came through that Home and Garden show would not even say hello.
Have you ever heard of the quote that when you go into business and you're black, the first people that you have to fight are your own?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that is more true so than I've ever seen, now stepping out in entrepreneurship like you, just seeing how people are. Like I went to school for chemical engineering. So even in classrooms,
Oh, absolutely.
they assimilate. The Asians made sure to take care of the Asians. The white people made sure to take care of, their people. The Jews specifically at Syracuse, you knew right when you got on campus where the Jews were.
Right.
You knew where who was going to protect you. We don't have the sense of the protection anymore that we used to protect one another. We're just now in my generation getting back to that because we're seeing that we're being attacked at the masses at this point, and now
I
people are finally
think most of
waking
the
up.
people in your generation, because you're considered a millennial, I think you guys are delusional.
It-
I'm serious.
you
I
think?
really do. I think they're delusional because you have better access to education
Than ever.
than ever, and a lot of access to other things that you think that everything's kumbaya and there is no racism anymore and everything is good. Because I have white friends. I have a white, person I was dating. We live in, a suburban area with other, white people and maybe other cultures. So I think everything is good now. And I think with all of these shootings and things kind of almost getting back to the topic, but with the shootings and different violence and stuff like that's been going on, I think now their eyes are being open like, oh, hold up, wait, you're shooting me because I'm black? Because I had a hoodie on? Yeah, lynching has not stopped.
Right.
Nothing has changed. Just because we had an African-American president does not mean that racism has disappeared from America. America was founded on racism. It is rooted in racism. If you want to have a man coming from another country and say, I discovered America when you had indigenous people already here,
Right.
How you want to discover something when people are already here?
just
So
call
first
it
of all, with
Thanksgiving.
that, then
Right.
you're gonna bring slaves over,
Right.
Right.
okay? And
Help build it.
we're building a nation. You brought Chinese people over here to help build railroads and stuff. So
Right.
you basically use all slave labor to build this country.
Right.
It is founded, rooted, blood is all in it in this country. So racism is not going to disappear. And that's the problem I have with young people. I just want to shake them like, wake up. Don't think that just because you have your degree and you were able to go even to an Ivy League school, because when the push come down to it, guess what you're going to be?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, no, you're going to be the N-word. When it
Oh,
comes
yeah,
down
yeah,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
When it comes down to it, I don't care
Yeah,
how
right.
good of friends you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, that's what you're going to be.
Right.
Oh, for certain.
So, but I think the younger people have been delusional about that because they think everything is fine. And it's not. You still have to be aware, and you have to protect. Yes, you have
That's
to
where the
be.
woke came
You
from.
got to protect yourself and understand and be realistic about this country, And because people are like, oh, Trump is making racism worse. No, it was already
No,
there.
he's just making them comfortable and talk.
Yeah, they're just
Right.
comfortable
Like,
again because they've been
yeah,
holding
back
out for
in-
8
yeah.
years where they couldn't
They
say
couldn't
nothing.
say anything because it was.
So now they
okay.
feel like, oh, I can say whatever I want
Right, he
now.
just made it
but it has
okay.
always been there. It has never changed.
Very
And that's
much so.
what, I just want to people, what are you talking about? I'll see posts on Facebook and stuff like, oh, racism, is coming back. No, it's never left.
Right.
It's never left.
Right. It was just silent.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
just took the sheets off.
Yeah.
See the face?
Right.
Yeah, now they feel
Right.
like they're
Right.
bold. And I can be bold about it again, but then I'd rather have you be bold instead of,
I'm in total
smiling
agreement.
in my face.
I'm in total agreement.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd
Let's
rather
just
see
know
that
who you are.
Confederate flag.
Right.
Right.
So let's just call the spade
Yeah,
a spade.
so
No
I
need to
know.
pretend
Yeah,
now.
so I know where you're at, and then I can deal
Absolutely.
with you
accordingly.
Face on.
accordingly. All right, so we're going to get rid of that
go.
subject. I know. All right, so we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to talk about Jussie Smollett and that whole thing. What were your thoughts when you first heard about this story?
Well, I'm gonna be, 100% honest. I never thought that he lied. I honestly, and I still don't think that he lied. So I follow him outside of Empire, outside of just the show. Like I genuinely follow him, what he does, what he posts, what he supports, and just from seeing who he was and just peeling back the onions for myself, it didn't make any sense. First of all, he wasn't broke. So it's not like you're not broke. You're not broke at all. So that was an issue for me. And then the Chicago PD.
Yeah.
You just Bill Cosby's gone. That was Chicago, and now we got R. Kelly coming up, and now Jussie. And I'm like, okay, guys, I'm not really trusting of the Chicago PD because of the history of their cases changing, stories changing, people going missing, things happening. That's not a real reliable source for me. And as you said, racism has never left. What better time to crucify as many African Americans, public, cared for, admired?
So he played on that?
I think that the media played on that. I think Jussie was played upon. It makes no sense. First of all, that wasn't a regular beating. You were beat up like that. Nobody would go that far. And what would you have gained? There was nothing to gain, really, to me from it. Yeah, you're going to get the raise. You were going to get the raise anyways. You had already known you were going to get the raise. And then when all that evidence kept coming out, when he sent them the payment, and then they were trainers, there was too many things going back and forth that were being pushed to us. Because I'm a real big conspiracy, with the media. I feel like they push you certain things and push our people certain things to take us away from what's going on over there. So I was like, well, what's happening in y'all neighborhood while this happening during Black History Month? What's going on? Black History Month for me was just a whole null and void. All types of things had happened. So this was, to me, another ploy to take away from what's going on over here. And we're also quick to jump on our own people. A lot of us crucified Jussie. I felt like we should come to his rescue. He's about to be crucified. The public opinion, court of public opinion, is way worse than the real actual court, in my opinion.
Let me ask you this. So is that how you felt or is that how you feel?
No, I felt that way.
Okay, no, 'cause I just wanna-
No, I felt that
Right.
way. Like when he first came out, I felt as though
You had his back.
had his back, because if I was in that predicament, everybody thought that I was, you know what I mean, that I was a liar. I would pray to my community, would look at the person that I was, the relationships that I had built, and knowing how deeply rooted I was in those relationships would surround me. Definitely not, you know, my mom was one of those, we got in trouble in our house. Like, she wasn't in church, we would get, you know, like, she would tear you up a little bit, but it's not gonna be anything that's gonna let our business out.
Yeah.
So I felt like we should have called him and brought him to, like, at our millennials, like we called them the Black folk meetings, and took him in the back, like, all right, bro, what happened? Shoot it straight with us, so we know what the story gonna be, what happened, so we can, because that's how it was with my friends. You know, we would coddle each other, and then we would.
Let me ask you this then. So, not you. Let me ask the proverbial question that if you're surrounded by superstars, I mean super duper, right?
Right, A-list.
Taraji, right?
That girl.
I mean, just a plethora of talent and access to wisdom. No matter what way the show was going, right? I read so many blogs from Spike Lee. I'm a big Spike Lee fan. And he was like, you know what, we had your back, and then you kind of like shamed us. And I don't know what award show he was going to, because there's just so many, and I don't have red on TV anymore. But I saw an award show where he was on a red carpet, and they asked him a question. He just said, shame on you, brother. Bad move. But here's my award, and like he redirected, like I can't. We already embarrassed, right? Because it wasn't true, right? Now, while we had to go through all that, you're absolutely right. He should have said something to somebody, but you were around people every day, all day. Money, you know, whether it's New York or LA, it changes you. It taints, right? We're going to find that scripture where it's tainted and imbrued in that you will forever be changed. Money is money, power, and whatever you think respect is. Once you become somebody, it matters, right? You cannot lend on the tragedy of others to either lift yourself up or make us feel a certain way.
Right.
So you're saying all this to say that you thought he was lying? Okay. See, I agree. When I first heard the story, me and my husband both looked at each other, was like,
Ain't this
ain't happened. It didn't happen. I didn't believe it. Not saying that it couldn't, because there have been many men lynched.
Right.
But just little things just did not make sense to me. Because why are you still sitting in your apartment with the noose around your neck? Okay. And then you said they were white, they were black, African at that. I mean, you know, so you can't really say, up. Yeah. And then they just collapsed. Like, you know, like a deck of cards. They were like, oh,
here it is.
Yeah, we're telling it. So, and and what made me, and this is why I was angry. I agreed with the superintendent of the police for him to use a noose was very hurtful. Because if you really understood our history with lynching, you would not use that as part of your little shenanigans.
Right, your show.
Yeah.
And we're not even broaching the subject of gay, lesbian.
Right, and then you have that. No, but then you have that because then you have people who legitimately get abused, beat up, attacked because of their sexual preference.
Right.
Now, I don't agree with that lifestyle, but I do not want to see anybody get hurt because that's who they say they are. So to take those two things
and tie a noose around
and say that this is what happened is terrible. Now, I don't think he should be going to jail for a long time, but I do believe there should be some consequences. So now if he has to pay a fine, then pay the fine. And maybe you have to lose your job.
Oh, his job's gone.
Okay? Yeah. Because there has to be some consequences. And I'm tired of black people wanting to take up for people who do wrong just because they're black. That's how R. Kelly got away with it for such a long time.
You said it.
Because
that's
my
true.
husband and I, we were signing up to be lifetime members for the NAACP. But then they gave him an award after, the first video stuff came out.
Right.
And they gave him an award. And we were like, excuse me? Huh?
Right. You can't hide.
We're not going to be associated with an organization like that because you have to be accountable for what you do, no matter what your color is. So if you commit the crime, then you have to deal with what your consequences are. So that's how people get away. But I mean, it broke my heart about Bill Cosby. One of my favorite comedians. Loved him. And it's still like, hey, Bill.
It stings.
However,
accountability is accountability.
You got to be accountable for what you did. It hurts me to the core. I remember Dave Chappelle did a whole little routine about it, about, superhero that raped people. And he was like, he raped, but he saves. And Bill Cosby, he was raping, but yet he gave away money, especially to, all kinds of stuff. Right. Great person, great positivity with his shows and everything. Didn't curse when he did his, routines. But dude,
you negated all of that.
Yeah, like, dude, I can't let you get a pass on that because you're black. I can't. And let's not say, well, Harvey Weinstein, you can't do it. So, okay, so we got to move on. I'm getting to wrap up. So we didn't really get to cover a couple of other things that we wanted to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to take our first break.
Okay.
And so,
I think it was healthy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and take our first break. So when we come back, we'll chat about vaccines.
Okay.
And we'll be right back after these important messages.
Join Karen, Layla, and Carol and all their friends. We are looking for a special group of people who are willing to become friends of the show. Your dedicated monthly support will enable the Chit Chat ladies to reach a worldwide audience. You can become a friend today by making a monthly pledge of $25 or more, and you will receive our friend package. That includes a t-shirt, tote bag, and mug. Just go to our website and donate today. We thank you in advance for becoming a friend of the Chit Chat Show. And don't forget to keep the chit in the chat.
To the Chit Chat Show. I'm Karen Craig, and this is Taylor Ford and Carol Washington, and we are the ladies of Chit Chat. So I know we had said we were going to talk about vaccines, but there was an issue that I definitely want to talk about a little bit before we go too far, and that was Antoine Rose, the second case, and the verdict. So we're not going to talk about all the stuff that happened before, but what was your thoughts about when the verdict came? Not guilty.
The city was going to erupt. Yeah, that's honestly how I felt. I was in Maryland. I was with my little cousins, and I grabbed my little brother. So my sister had passed, and this is our little brother. And he's 18, and he's going to Wisconsin, and he's on a D1 scholarship. And I grabbed him, and I said, you never forget who you are. You never forget that you're a black man, and you never forget who the police are, because this is what happens. Right. To be 100% honest, I didn't expect a guilty verdict. Mm-hmm. I just didn't. When you have to be honest about where you live and who you live with. I've always been woke. My mom always kept me woke from the time I was a kid. Mm-hmm. To know where I went to Oakland Catholic, I went to St. Bart's, I went to school with them. She never let me assimilate. I integrated. I never assimilated. She made sure to keep that with me. Mm-hmm. That not guilty verdict, it hurt because I had a son who's 3, and I can only imagine what the world would look like when he's growing up in it. So it hit really hard at home for me, but I thoroughly knew that they were going to say that he was not guilty. And no offense to the African American jurors, but you have a responsibility to your people. I believe that when you're black, and this is our experience, there's no such thing as you're going to be black to them. Remember that. So how dare you go against the community that will always be there for you? We might, go back and forth at each other, but family is family. And that verdict, that not guilty verdict, it wasn't even the verdict really that messed me up. It was the comments on KDKA. Mm-hmm. The level of hate that outpoured from Pittsburgh, the place of love. When Tree of Life happened, we loved each other. Pittsburgh is stronger than hate. No, Pittsburgh is not stronger than hate, because when we needed Pittsburgh as a community more than ever, forget the verdict. It's the support that we were really looking for. We already knew what was going to happen to him. That wasn't it. We were looking for our coworkers, the grocery store people, people at the gas station, workers at Target, people at the mall. We were expecting the non-white people that we see to feel our pain and to understand that is horrible. So I felt angry at first, and then I felt a level of hatred, and then I had to pray, because I remembered the Taylor. Well, however you feel is nothing compared to eternal damnation. Like, there's nothing that I can say to you. I prayed for him to be 100% honest, because hell is real. He's living in hell every day. We don't know what he goes to sleep like. He could be tormented. Remember Solomon in the Bible? He was a king, but he was tormented every night. We don't know what his nights look like. He could fall asleep every night to that gunshot, every day, going to sleep to that gunshot. The rest of his life is forever changed. He will forever be tainted. So my heart, I couldn't stay angry at him, because God doesn't stay angry at me. And no, I have not shot anybody, but I am not perfect by any means. And I can only imagine what his life is now like, what you're now feeling, because of what you yourself have done. So I don't feel bad for you, but your spirit, I prayed for it, because that could have very well been his salvation right then and there. We don't know. You know what I mean? We don't know.
Good for you that you could stir in your Christian values.
Yeah, it was hard,
right? I couldn't at first. I mean, and as a mother, I'm off social media for a whole lot of reasons. Got a fire stick, so I don't watch the news until I'm like watching traffic or weather in the morning. I get some tidbits and highlights. I get everything I want once I get to work. Right? It's just going to bombard you either way. I'd rather not watch it and then recap it and recap it again. Right. But I get the Courier, and in one paper it said, going to trial. And immediately, it was the non-guilty verdict. And so it stunned me. As a mother of a black man, I prayed immediately, saying, I don't understand, and I don't know if I'm supposed to. Mm-hmm. Yes, you should pray for everyone, and yes, I'm so mad. So mad that it's still a life taken away. It's still a mother waking up without her child, and I can't imagine opening my eyes and not being able to reach out to my son saying, you're all right. I love you. I pray for you. Even if it's a text, I know he's there, and I can't take that for granted anymore. Over and over and over again. Right. I mean, and he was a hoodie kind of kid with his beats on and his catching the bus. I'm like, you guys can't do that no more. How dare I am to take that away from him to be who he wants to be. Right. It's a constant reminder that you could be gone tomorrow just like that. But I can't dismiss the fact that I have cops in my family, and there are black men, and I was in the military, and you pledged to protect. It's a fine line between protecting yourself and protecting other people. You have 2 seconds, if that, to make a decision on the rest of your life and everyone else around the situation, right? Not saying whether he's guilty or not, but you're not him. And I'm certainly not my cousin that was a state trooper or my cousin that's the only black cop in Columbus, right? Nightmare. One of the only black females in my military brigade. It's still a feeling of helplessness, like, what if I make the wrong decision? And you're absolutely right. He will live in his own damnation if you make the wrong decision. Hope you're a believer either way, but
Right.
I was angry.
I think for me, I was thinking, I had posted that my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness, because I had a little glimmer of hope that just maybe because it was so blatant to me. And I just said, well, just maybe, they might find him guilty this time. I remember Johnny Gamage, I remember all of these guys, but I thought just for a little bit, and I was disappointed in myself for putting hope in this system. And I said, no, my hope has to be in Jesus Christ and him alone and nothing else. So I was a little disappointed in myself, but I thought just maybe something would happen. But with Pittsburgh, not surprised. Pittsburgh is one of the racist cities that's out there. And it has always been. It's very separatist. You got your Italians here, blacks here, it's pockets.
Very much so.
And they don't like to be mixed. And I don't care how much they say stronger than hate.
No,
not Pittsburgh.
No,
not
we
Pittsburgh.
weren't stronger than hate to the truth.
So I do have a question. Have you guys seen the movie The Hate You Give?
I read the book.
So
different.
Yeah, I didn't read the book, but the movie was fantastic. It's something you
that.
should watch with your son. And it's so important because I think if people have this conversation that he had with his children, just maybe it would prevent some of it. Because I had found this little cartoon that says, parental advice to young black male. Don't wear a hoodie, don't carry Skittles or iced tea, don't walk through a nice neighborhood, don't run. And then what a white person says to their son, don't forget the floss. Our conversation has to be different with our children. And what I loved about the movie was he told them, if you get pulled over, put your hands on the dashboard. Don't move. Don't be looking them all in the eye. Don't get smart. Even if you did nothing wrong, I need you to come home. We'll deal with this later, but I need you to come home. So, yes, sir. No, sir. Suck it up. Just grin and bear it.
Right.
Because we'll deal with it with the lawyer when we go back down there. But I need you to come home. I don't need you to get smart with them, to give them an excuse to say, I had to shoot you.
Right.
So that's the difference. So that's all I want to say about that. And I think they're going to show a picture of just some of the people who have lost their life to police shootings that I think my husband has, and he's going to cue that up, that about a picture of unarmed black people that have been shot by the police. I don't know if he can find it. Maybe not. Okay, he's giving me the eye nod. All right, so we're going to move on. So we're going to talk about vaccines. As we know, there are vaccines for everything. You got flus, measles, whooping cough, polio, shingles, chickenpox, hepatitis, all kinds of stuff. And I remember one time we seen, I think it was Walgreens up the street from our church. And they had so many signs for all the different vaccines that went all over the property. It was crazy. It was really crazy. So what are your thoughts about vaccines in general?
Well,
I mean, they're needed. I'm an advocate for vaccines. I'm a proponent of them. I get my son vaccinated. I make sure that I'm vaccinated. I think that we if we can take the necessary precaution, and it's necessary, key word, not for the profit, but for the necessary, then I do believe, I do support that.
Well, I worked in an industry in which, it was crisis in home, so there were mothers that chose not to go the traditional medicinal route. Fine. But when they get next to death and it could have prevented it, then I think, particularly infant, infant mortality, I'm on the board of Healthy Start, and that is the mission, is to, lower the rate. However, when you become of age, and we had several conversations about flu shots, and, when you get a certain age, if your body is not already immune to certain things, quite sure what's in that vial. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you hope it's but we talked about it being last year, the virus, and because I got it, and then I caught the flu, and I was looking at my PCP like, are you kidding me? Like, what did you put in me then? Because I blamed it on that, and it wasn't nowhere near with the symptoms that I was preventing. Right? So as an adult, I told my son, at this point, you're 20 years, you're about to be 20. You make your own decisions. I think I made the right ones. I pray I made the right ones for you up until this point, because children are helpless and they can't.
Right.
It's an itch, and all of a sudden it's pox, or it's a cough, and all of a sudden it's whooping. It gets scary. Real quick. And you have to do damage control and necessary control, but it gets scarier the older you get. And I know, if I'm looking at my mother, I'm taking more pills than she is. Something's wrong with them.
Yeah, something's wrong. All right, so now what about the HPV vaccine? And what that one is, that's the one
Human
where,
papilloma.
where it's to prevent common sexually transmitted infections in the United States. So anyone who has ever been sexually active can get HPV, but you are more likely to get it if you have had many sex partners or have had sex with someone who has had many partners. And it is very common, and they would like for boys and girls to get it from starting at age 9, as young as age 9, or starting at the age 12 to get this HPV shot or vaccine. And a lot of parents don't want their children to have it because my child's not sexually active. So what are your opinions on that? I mean, you'll probably have to make that decision for your son one day.
See, I'm 26. I'm closer to the age when I lost my virginity. So, I'm not the parent that will be in denial. My mom lived in denial for quite some time, but I don't think she was actually in denial because I asked for birth control when I was 16 years old. So I was like, I told her it was for my period, but I mean,
Let's be real.
She was like, she looked me in my face and said, yeah, Mom's for my period, but we both knew that silent understanding. My mom was also a realist. I'm quite much as a realist. Yeah, they're gonna get the HPV. I mean, it's not, great. We're not proud of it, but things are happening a lot earlier. And I'd rather my child be protected and to take any precaution that I can for my child, because you may not be, smart enough not to go down this path that you're not ready for. Right. But at the very least, knowing that that's a possibility, because I'm not everywhere with you and I can't be everywhere with you.
Right.
We're going to try to, I promote sexual education. I promote being honest, because I think part of the reason why some of this generation under me is so very ignorant is because there was an information gap. We stopped. Like, oh no, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't tell them. And I think that's why so many things have run so rapid. The HPV vaccine wouldn't be so big had we started having those conversations a lot earlier about what STDs are, what STIs are, how to catch them, how to prevent them. The kids, I know when I was young, we had to cultivate our own ideas because Google wasn't around. So we were just talking to each other.
That is the scariest thing.
It's the scariest thing in the whole world to have. We were 13. I was like, okay, guys, what's this red stuff? I was like, but what do you guys know? What your mom tell you? What your mom tell you? And we put all of our ideas together. And then when my god sister, when she lost her virginity, it was the three of us at the table. My mom, because my mom and her best friend, we were all god sisters. And they sat us down at the table, and we were all looking at each other because we thought it was for dinner, and then it wasn't. And we started talking like, hey, what'd you do? What did anybody do? What's this about? And our mom sat across the table, and they go, okay, who's sexually active? Now, two of us were, but one of us wasn't. And I looked at her, and I was like, this has to be about you. I know you're the only one that's going to be caught. You better say you're the only one. Don't look at anybody down here. So my mom looked at me, and she goes, Taylor, are you sexually active? I go, absolutely not. Jasmine? I just turned right to my sister, like, okay, mom, your turn. Go on, tell her the truth. And, that was the first conversation that we had, like, with our village about, like, sex and what it was. And they were, like, ready to cry. And we were like, oh, man, God, she's been active. Like, why are you even crying about this? We were 16 when we had that conversation. And I know that things had transpired prior to us being 16 because we were 13 asking each other these questions. But I asked my mom, I said, Mom, what would you say if I told you that I had sex? I'll never forget it. I was 12 years old. She goes, I would beat you. I go, wrong answer. I'll never tell you. And I never did. I never did. I never told her because that was like my entry. We're like, all right, I'm going to see how cool we are. Like you say, you can tell me anything.
Right.
And then I tell you, you're going to beat me, well, never mind. You know? So I think that's part of the reason why this HPV vaccine even came out, because nobody wants to talk about it.
Well, here's my thing. Where was it when we was growing up? And what was
Well, they hadn't figured it
right?
out.
Right.
So it's to prevent eventually so that you won't get things like cervical cancer or
Right,
things like
right.
that. But yeah, so a lot of parents don't want they haven't made it mandatory yet.
Right.
And I think that's where I would have the problem.
Yeah.
To make it
That's
mandatory.
too much.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I don't think that should be like a required vaccination.
Right.
But now I do have a question. Should we have the right to refuse vaccines for our children and ourselves for any reason?
I would say it's a human right to choose what happens to your body, and because I believe that because I have become pro-choice. I have seen a lot, and I know what the Bible says, and I understand what the Bible says. I just have seen so much incest in my career. It mortifies me to understand how many issues you're going to have with birth, and you may not ever give birth again if you don't do certain things. Mm-hmm. Or you know you're going to have a child with special needs and they're going to grow up in a poverty-stricken, no medical nightmare, right? So I think it's a human right. And I don't think anybody should make you, if they told you when you went to Walgreens, in order to get your prescription, you got to take this flu shot, keep the prescription. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
So,
See, I'm a little different. I have to stand my ground. It's fine. I'm a germaphobe. So the ones that's forced, like the mandatory ones, I think they should be mandatory because it's not just about you. Again, we have a responsibility to our community. My baby that doesn't have the measles vaccine doesn't need to be around everybody else's kid who doesn't have it. And I personally, as a parent, don't want anybody shot around my child that hasn't been vaccinated just because they have vaccines for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I'm a thorough proponent of that. I don't want to be around a bunch of non-vaccinated people because I don't know when you could have went to Libya and now we're sitting next to each other and then you ain't even from here and now what I got. So,
but what about for religious reasons?
Still,
You still think it should be mandatory?
Yep, that's your religious okay. I hope y'all got a community where y'all can be together. So
They do. Orthodox Jews.
Yeah,
in Rockland, what is it? Rockland County in New York.
Yeah, that's the wrong spot. Why not?
But the county, I guess the county commissioner or the person who's in charge of vaccinations there, he was making it mandatory. He said you couldn't go out in public, you can't go to the store, you can't go here, you can't go there. But then on April 8th, the New York Supreme Court Justice halted the vaccination order that had been issued banning unvaccinated minors from going to school, houses of worship, or public places for 30 days. So this was a victory for parents who have serious ethical and medical concerns about vaccinating their children, as well as the freedom of religion. And to put this into perspective, in the whole of the United States, religious exemption from vaccinations is only prohibited in 3 states: California, more surprisingly, Mississippi, and West Virginia. Medical exemption is allowed in every state, and even New York allows for medical and religious exemptions to vaccines. And I think for me, when it becomes mandatory, if I feel like it's going against my religious beliefs of what I want to do, I do not want the government mandating anything for me. Because talk about conspiracy, I don't trust the government for anything. So when you get the government involved and start mandating on what you have to do, I got a serious problem. So I think you should be able to, for religious reasons, be able to say no. And if you have to be quarantined, okay, I'll be quarantined. But
I ain't getting no shot.
But if I don't want to get that shot, I don't want to feel like you have to force me and make me to get that shot. It's my right, as you said, as a citizen of the United States of America, freedom of choice, to say, no, I'm not getting it. If you want to quarantine me. But I'm not getting it, and you're not going to make me get it. So that's where I kind of draw the line with that. So, okay. All right, so we're going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to chat about marijuana and the recent college scandal. So we'll be right back after these important messages. All right, so we're going to talk about medical marijuana. What are your thoughts on that? You think it's a good thing or not?
It's a good thing. I believe it's a good thing.
Okay.
It's good because it's a holistic way to help people with their issues, as opposed to putting, a bunch of man-made drugs and, things that we don't really know down their bodies. And I believe that it was grown. It's grown from the ground. It's not something, I don't believe that God would just grow a plant that can heal you with just, what He's provided you for no reason. Now, you don't necessarily need to like the plant. Right. You can change the plant, but I do believe that it has medicinal properties.
Okay.
I would agree. Again, I think I've witnessed enough tragedy to know that it can help as opposed to, traditional medicines. I know it can take pain away. It can help sleep. It can help alert you. And again, we go back, I think, every show to education. If you really understand what it can do, just like that, you see these commercials and the side effects will really scare the crap out of you because you say, okay, I'm taking it for anxiety. Side effects may be anxiety or suicidal thoughts. And okay, that's because I'm already anxious. Right? So try something different, right? Again, man will determine whether it's legal or not in certain states, which really gets to me. But again, so we can always go back to the law, but in my own opinion, my humble opinion, I think.
Okay.
If it's
What
used
about
properly.
recreational marijuana? Our lieutenant governor is going from pretty much county to county talking about legalizing recreational marijuana like it is in Colorado. What are your thoughts about that?
I think you can abuse absolutely anything. You can abuse information. Obviously, you can abuse ammunition and guns. So if you abuse marijuana or get addicted to anything that could do you harm or distract you from what reality is. You know, it can harm you. However, choice is choice, right? It's illegal until it's not. That's what I tell my son. You know, he's in college. He's almost a junior. There's very little that I could advise him at this point in terms of his life. Law's the law. So I'll probably be the last person he called if he needs some bail money, but you know what I mean? Education is still key. So if you're in a state or you're in a situation where it is illegal, then you got to suffer the consequences.
But do you think it should be legalized?
I'm a pro-choicer, so it's a little difficult for me. So I'll say yes.
Okay.
I'm a firm yes.
You say yes?
A firm yes, because marijuana does not kill you. It's not out here. It's not, hurting your body. It's not causing you cancer. As a matter of fact, people who have cancer are allowed to use it for their pain medicine. I believe that, when I went through PTSD and I had post-traumatic stress from my son, my doctor had told me, like, hey, maybe I can't give it to you. Maybe you should go to Colorado, spend a week out there, and get yourself together. It helps with depression. It helps with mental state. It's not like alcohol where, you're crashing into trees and you're going to be tired anyways. You're typically not going to be in those environments. So I believe that it's super taboo because, there's that whole idea around it. But should it be recreationally legal? Yeah, because alcohol is legal and you can drink yourself to death. Yeah. You cannot eat an edible, 7 edibles and die. You're going to put yourself to sleep and you're going to sleep for a very long time, but you're not going to die. So I feel like if you can let alcohol be legal and you can literally drink yourself to death where we can't bring you back, what's right? Cigarettes are legal, tobacco is legal, and these are all things that cause extremely harmful real life effects. And, I feel as though that this one thing right here should be legal because it may take away from those other things that the cigarettes, the tobacco, you're smoking a cigarette to release your anxiety. It does the same thing, and now you don't have to get cancer. You're drinking alcohol to have fun because you want to let loose. You can do the same thing, and now you don't have to worry about drinking yourself to death or being so incoherent that now you're in a situation that you don't want to be. I don't personally like to be drunk because I feel very much so out of control. And with my environment, I don't like to be out of control. I feel as though, maybe recreationally making that legal may help some of these drunk drivers and these crashes and some of these suicidal things that's going on because they won't feel so much.
So you think people can drive better if they're smoking marijuana?
No, I don't think you can do well doing either. I'm not a proponent of smoking and driving or drinking and driving. I think if you're going to be any level of intoxicated or out of yourself, you should be smart enough and adult enough to say, I'm not going to drive.
Well, can we not legalize skunk weed?
That's fair.
Because it stinks.
You know what?
I can't stand that smoke. Just please don't legalize that.
Just a certain type. Just that skunk type.
I can't take that skunk weed. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't smell it. No. Okay. So we're going to move on. All right. So what were your thoughts on this recent college scandal?
I'm gonna let you take this one. But again, I don't have regular TV, so I didn't follow it.
So you don't know about it? Well, it was a lot of rich white.
Oh, that okay,
yes.
that one. I
And
thought
you
we
had
were
a
talking
couple-
about weed. I'm
No.
sorry.
This is
About
college
buying your
scandal.
kids' way to.
Having people
I
to
think
take the
every
test.
last one of them should pay the consequences for what they did. My son worked extremely hard as a black male in this country, extremely hard to get a partial academic scholarship and merit on his own. For someone, I wouldn't have paid for it if I could, because it should be earned. And I went to school in a town where it wasn't popular. It just was not. You weren't expected to. If you did, you got lucky. But I think they should pay.
Oh, I'm a fellow proponent of that. I went to school for chemical engineering. I grinded. I cried. I failed. I had to pick myself up, and I'm in debt. So Why Susie Q do you not get to do any of that? No SAT scores, no tests. Anybody who's going to school can tell you it's a grind, it's a privilege, it's an honor. You're gonna come out, and there's a lot that goes along with that.
It's worth it.
And it's 100% worth it. But I feel so proud to be an African American Black woman engineer because I did that myself.
Right.
Nobody took my test for me. My daddy didn't pay to get me in school. I graduated from Oakland with a 3.9 on my own merit.
Right.
So I feel as though I feel bad for the kids because your mom has totally done you a disservice. She like if we would have found that out and I was in school, we'd have been like, you gotta go because everybody else here is struggling and you're really not. I think the parents really disgusted me with that. Why would you? That's such an honor. Why would you take that from your child just for the stature, just to say that you did it, and now you set them up for a terrible way in the rest of their life because that's the time that you grind, grow, and learn. You took that whole experience away from them. So now, I feel as though that was really selfish as a parent to do.
Well, do you equate wealthy families donating money to universities and having buildings named after them the same as what happened with the scandal? You think it's the same?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And there's several names out there, and I'm proud Beverly School of Business graduate. However, there are landmarks and last names that go on forever. Carnegie Mellon.
I was going to say Carnegie. I mean, frick. It's absolutely.
It's not just in Pittsburgh. I think it's
Well,
across the
it
country.
happens on all colleges. They have an endowment, so they donate a certain amount of money, so a building can be named after them. And then, their child, their grandchild, and so on and
Nepotism
so
is
on and
real.
so on. Yeah.
Right. That's where
Right.
it's
I
breeded.
think they kind of call that white privilege. I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So now in 2015, there was the Atlanta teacher scandal. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was where Atlanta educators were convicted in a huge cheating scandal, and the judge sent 10 of them straight to jail after the guilty verdicts were announced, allowing one woman to remain free until sentencing only because she was about to give birth. All faced serious jail time of 20 years or more, and thanks to their convictions on racketeering charges, the 11 teachers and administrators were found guilty of changing student answers on standardized tests in order to boost scores, which in turn would help them secure bonuses and raises. Now, do you think the white wealthy parents will spend any time in jail?
No.
No?
No.
That was like it's
Like,
like
no. Yeah,
But
absolutely not.
Unfortunately, you have all of these black educators, teachers, and administrators, principals that change some scores to the standardized testing. They're in jail. But these families that, they're portraying, and a couple actresses, and everybody like Aunt Becky from, what was that, Full House show.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't really think nothing's going to really happen to them. I think they should make an example of them.
Right.
But once again, you don't put faith into your
No.
criminal justice.
No,
Make
system.
America great again.
Yeah.
No, nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah, probably nothing.
Nothing's going to
Yeah,
happen.
probably
to them. I mean,
nothing.
they lost their
And-
job.
And I think it's so unfortunate, and I thought this at a very young age with my son, that he spent more time with his educators than me. And if I'm putting my trust like that in you, it's not a daycare, it's an educational institution. If you can't read, blame me. But I'm gifting you my child for 8 to 9 hours a day, and then hopefully you're honing in on what his talents and educational habits are going to be. It's not reverse. And I think sometimes you take that away, or you give the teachers too much credit.
But I
You
don't
can't
think-
read because it's your fault.
Yeah, but I don't think a lot of teachers go into it for the right reasons. I mean, teaching used to be a gifting.
It's like a doctor. They have a lot of control
Yeah,
over
and
you.
now I think it's more, okay, I'm get a paycheck, I get summers off. And they really could care less.
They
I
don't
mean,
make
you
much
do have
money.
some teachers that
Right.
really care about
Genuinely.
students and really love teaching. But now everything is to the test.
Right.
Where the learning is not there anymore. Kids come out of school not really knowing how to do anything. And we talked about this before about,
How to study.
home ec and things like that
Right.
that are missing, just life skills are missing, and then they get rid of gym, physical education, they cut back on that, the arts. And I think you have to be well-rounded.
Right.
And you need to see where kids can have, they can excel at certain things versus, okay, we're just going to do, this is math, take the test, here you got study, we're going to teach you to this test so you can get good grades and get, score high, and then I can get my bonus.
Right.
But in the meantime,
Johnny don't know
what's
how to
2
read.
plus 2?
Right.
22.
Right.
They don't know. So I think that's what's different, where...
All right, let's not stir in athletics, please.
That depends on where you at. Because when I went to Oakland Catholic, it was definitely about the grade. But at our table, so we made a pact that we knew we had to work 6 times as hard to get even half of where they were at.
Right.
And we prided ourselves on it. Every one of my African American friends, there were 7.5 of us. Yes, I said a half because Morgan wanted to be a half. She wasn't all the way black. Doesn't matter. 7.5 of us. Guess what? We all hit high honors every single time, and we held each other accountable. If we came to the table and we went at the beginning of the school day, and when grades were posted and we all saw our names, and you was on honors but you wasn't on high honors, we would come with you like, hey, we're all on honors. What you doing? You need help? You need us to study with you?
You're an anomaly then. Because
We did that.
Public education doesn't invest as much.
Yeah, because it's competitive. And in the Catholic school, that was really serious.
Well, they hold you accountable. You have standards,
totally
and they didn't
accountable.
let you get away with certain things either. I think that's part of it too. But now I do have a question. Do you think everybody should go to college?
No.
I think you should be given an opportunity to.
Well, I don't think everybody's college material.
No,
Everybody
that's
is
what I'm
not.
saying. You should be given an opportunity, though. I think there's a scholarship at my job in that they afford black males the opportunity. Well, actually, any young male an opportunity to go to Central Catholic if they can't afford it. They're still given an opportunity. But you're right. College is not for everyone, and I will, just like everything else in life, marriage and military and babies and parenting and going on. But I think you should be given the opportunity.
Definitely.
And if it's not for you,
Definitely should be given that.
Oh, I think it should be presented, but I also think some of the trades, should be presented.
Absolutely.
Because everyone isn't college material.
Right.
And, a lot of those people, like plumbers and electricians, they're dying out.
Yeah,
exactly.
Everybody wants to be an engineer. Everybody wants to be a teleprompter.
Son toyed with me and said, well, what if I want to be a garbage man? And I said, okay, well, then the side of the truck should say Washington Waste Management. That's all. Standard high.
Right.
We got it right. So, but garbage men make a lot of money.
Yeah.
No offense to who's going to pick up the trash.
Right.
Somebody got to do
Electrician.
However, you can be the best at it.
Exactly.
Dream beyond the hourly and the
Right.
no, a lot of young people don't invest in their own future, and then they look up and wonder why the Social Security ain't paying the rent.
Well, Social Security ain't gonna be around. I don't even know if
Yeah, I
it'll
was
be
going to say,
around
I
for
wouldn't
my
bank in that.
For when I get there, I don't even know if it's gonna be there for me.
Right.
So I don't know. But okay, so we're going to end this show. I thought it was a very good show. You did
really
very
good.
good.
Very good.
Thank you. Very opinionated, which was
having us.
great. Yes.
Yes.
But we're going to end it always with a last word, and we're going to look at from Scripture, Psalm 133, verses 1, and it says, "Behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity." And I think that kind of sums up our whole show today.
Absolutely.
And if anyone in our audience would like to chit chat more about this topic, you can hit us up on our Facebook page. You can also like and follow us on our Facebook page. Make sure that you watch on YouTube and like that also. And you can join our Chit Chatter page where you can just talk about these issues in more detail, and we can maybe engage in conversations. And I think next month we're going to take a break for the rest of the summer. So we will not be back with you until September. So we're going to take the summer off and, everybody take their little vacations and enjoy themselves. And we'll be back, I believe that's September 7th. And we will be introducing Taylor as our new host of the Talk with an Angel. So that will be back in September too. So look for us and just, keep the chit in the chat. See ya.